All right. Welcome to, for the first time ever, welcome to our little humble abode at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and welcome to a Tuesday night edition of Flamesnation Live. It's Pat Steinberg along with you from Sportsnet 960 The Fan, and hey, we are almost there. I'm sitting here watching Philadelphia and Tampa Bay across the way. So the NHL season is officially underway. But man, the Flames don't start until Saturday. So we've got a little bit of time until the season starts for Calgary. Who do we have in with us on Flames Nation Live today? Josh in first, also JF, Sasha, Alex, Dallas have all said hi in the live chat, and more and more people can say hi as we go along. Get your thoughts and comments in on the live chat as well. And obviously, you can always catch Flames Nation Live after the fact on Facebook, on Instagram, or on YouTube. You can get it wherever your favorite podcasts are found as well. Flames Nation Live, as we move closer to the start of the regular season, is brought to you by DoorDash, where you can still use that promo code FNLiveDD. And if you do that, you're going to get yourself a discount on your first order and free delivery. Use the promo code FNLiveDD. So there's lots to talk about when it comes to the roster, when it comes to the start of the regular season, when it comes to what this Flames team is going to look like on Saturday when they open the season against the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, what's strange is that Flames are going to start on Saturday against an Oilers team that played on Wednesday. So Edmonton opens their season tomorrow, but the Flames don't open until Saturday. So the Oilers are going to be a group that is already played. The Flames, I guess you could say, they'll be rested and ready to go. What is the Flames opening day roster going to look like? Well, here, we can show you. This is what it looks like. On the left, you got your goalies and defense. On the right, you've got your forwards to start the year. They are starting the year with 14 forwards, 8 defensemen, and 2 goalies. You wonder how that can happen? That's 4 goalies. Sorry, 24 skaters. And how they can start with 24 skaters is pretty simple. You see there, Brad Richardson is on IR, and that allows them to start with the 24 skaters on their active roster. Richardson not technically on their active roster, just listed when the Flames submitted their final roster on Monday. But that's the way it's going to look. I know that there have been some who have been a little leery of the opening roster and not big fans of it, or feel like it could be a rough year for the Flames. I don't know. It's interesting. There's a few things that need to work themselves out as we take a look at today's practice lines. This is the way the Flames lined up at practice today. First of all, Blake Coleman on the fourth line with Glenn Godden and Brett Ritchie. That's because Coleman's not playing in Saturday's season opener. He's serving the second half of his suspension. So the fact that Coleman is not playing is why he is sitting there on the fourth line. So I know that is a little jarring, or was a little jarring when you saw it, but that's the reason why. So Coleman not playing, which kind of leaves them in an interesting situation. As it stands right now, the Flames are a forward short to start the year. The D pairings also need to work themselves out as well. We need to figure out whether or not it's going to be Valimaki or Shillington that starts the year in the lineup for the Flames. So I guess there's a couple of things that we can dive into. First of all, let's start with the forwards. Right now, they are a forward short to start the year in that Coleman isn't going to play. Pitlick is not skated with the team. Richardson has not skated with the team and is currently on IR. So if neither Pitlick nor Richardson can play, and with Coleman suspended, that leaves the Flames with 11 forward options to fill potentially 12 slots. So what are the options then for the Flames to ice a lineup? Well, I guess there are 4 options. Number 1 would be go 11 forward, 7 defensemen, which isn't completely out of the question. I don't think that is the ideal, but they could absolutely go with 11 forward, 7 defensemen, and then both Valimaki and Shillington are in. They could have Pitlick play. Maybe Pitlick returns to practice later on this week. bam, he's in the roster, and there's another way they could go about it. Now they've got a forward. Maybe they swap Pitlick and Richardson. Pitlick goes to IR. Richardson's ready to play. There's another option. Or the fourth option, which I think could absolutely come into play. Richardson's on IR. You put Pitlick on IR as well, and then you recall somebody from Stockton. And I know the first guy that everybody would want to talk about is Walker Duehr. I don't know if Walker is the right guy to be recalled for a season opener against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and the Edmonton Oilers on the road. Maybe you go with somebody with a little bit more professional experience, like whether it's Kirkland, whether it's Phrase, you go in a direction like that, because not only is Duehr an NHL rookie, he's barely played pro hockey. He's only got 5 or 6 professional games to his name. So all of that taken into account, I would say you probably go Fraser Kirkland before you go Walker Duehr, as good a story as Duehr has been. So that is absolutely an area that we could see the Flames go down, or a road we could see them go down, if they are not able to have a 12th forward based on what we saw them practice with today here at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Let's take one more look at the way they lined up today. Hanifin with Anderson, Zadorov with Tanev. You can basically lock that in as your opening day top 4, whether you love that or not. What it comes down to is, if they end up going with 6 defensemen, like we think they will, who is paired with Goodbranson on the third pairing? Michael Stone didn't practice today. He was out for COVID protocol reasons. We'll see how that develops as the week goes along. But it's going to be one of Valimaki or Shillington playing with Goodbranson. And Shillington was the big story through the first part of training camp, but his last 2 games against Winnipeg, not as good. Valimaki started rough, and his game kind of came along, and now I think Valimaki's had himself a pretty solid ending to camp, so I could easily see it going either way. I don't have a handicap as to which way I see it going between Valimaki and Shillington. What I can tell you is what I would do. I think I would start, if it's between those two, and that's what we're talking about right now, between those two, I'm going Valimaki to start the year. I just think the ceiling is higher. He's the first round pick. And here's the most important thing for me. He's the guy that has been better most recently in preseason games against better opposition. And that's important. You know, they played a pretty NHL-ready Winnipeg team in their final game. Valimaki, you know, his first 2 games, yeah, I'd be the first to admit he struggled a little bit. His last 2 or 3, he'd gotten better in. Shillington's last 2, he struggled in. I would go Valimaki over Shillington as the number 3 left side defenseman. We'll see which way the Flames go. Tune into or follow along on Twitter tomorrow and on Thursday, and we'll have a little bit of a better idea as to the way things are trending in that regard. Head coach Darryl Sutter did say today that he has an idea in his mind as to which way he's leaning, but wasn't going to reveal that with us. This edition of Flames Nation Live and this segment of Flames Nation Live is brought to you by our friends at Deuce Vodka, where you can always pick up the Celebration Vodka at your local liquor store. And if your local liquor store does not carry Deuce Vodka, make sure you get on them to bring it in. Deuce Vodka, available wherever fine spirits are sold. This segment of Flames Nation Live brought to you by our friends at Deuce Vodka. Hey, if you got any comments or questions on the live chat, we'll get to those right now. JF says, looking at the Pens roster tonight, Flames not that bad. Yeah, the Penguins without Crosby, the Penguins without Malkin. That's a little bit of an eerie start to the season. I don't love the way the Penguins are shaping up right now. I don't blame you on that front, JF. We'll see. You know, this is the first time in a long time that I enter a Calgary Flames season without a really good feel as to the way it's going to go, because last year was such a disaster, but last year was also the weirdest season that we've ever endured, witnessed, whatever word you want to use. So how much can you really take away from last year? So last year was a nightmare. Monahan struggled, Tkachuk struggled, all of it. Markstrom had that really rough stretch of 20 games or whatever it was in the middle of the year. But I look at the team, and I feel like Gaudreau's going to have a really big year. And if Gaudreau does have a really big year, then that's going to help him. I just can't see Matthew Tkachuk having another bad season. That just, after the year he had, he's too proud, he's too good a player for that to happen again. So I think, like, if I were to be held up against a wall and say, Steinberg, what is going to happen this year? Or what is your expectation for the Flames this year? The best I could give you, like, I could see them being pretty decent and fighting near the top of the Pacific. I could see them being really bad and having a tough year again. But I think they're going to be competitive. I think they're in the mix with Edmonton, Vancouver, Seattle, and Los Angeles in the Pacific Division, where I don't think there's going to be a lot of separation between those two teams. I think Vegas is the best team. I think Anaheim and San Jose are really, really going to struggle. Otherwise, I think it's up for grabs. I think Calgary will be competitive there. I think they've got a decent chance of making the playoffs. I don't think this team is built to make a ton of noise in the playoffs necessarily, but I don't think it's crazy to think that they could end up getting there this year. This from Josh on the live chat. If the Senators stumble out of the gates, do you think Ottawa caves to Tkachuk? How long will it take? I do think Ottawa is going to eventually cave to Brady Tkachuk. I really do. I just, they can't go too long without him in the lineup. That's just disaster for Ottawa. I do not put a ton of credence into the go get Brady Tkachuk if you're Calgary conversation. I just don't think that's overly realistic right now. I think it's more realistic for them to acquire Jack Eichel than it is for them to acquire Brady Tkachuk, but that's just me. But yeah, I do think at some point, even if they don't struggle out of the gate, Josh, I do think that they're going to get that done with Brady, and I do think that they're going to cave in that regard. How long it takes? Yeah, it might take a few weeks still, but I do think that it'll end up being a bridge, and I guess in that regard, it would be Ottawa caving to the demands of Brady Tkachuk and their camp. Last thing I'll bring up, as here we are, we'll do another one with Pike on Friday. Last thing I'll bring up before we wrap things up on the live chat. I think the Flames, when everybody's healthy, the strength of their team is their forward group and potentially their goaltending. I think they're deep in net with Vladar backing up Jacob Markstrom. And I think with everybody healthy, this team is a deep forward group. Their weakness is the back end. Right now, for me, this can evolve, but they've got 3 top 4 defensemen. And that needs to solidify itself. Somebody at some point this year is going to have to prove that they are a 4th top 4 defenseman. That, to me, is their biggest weakness. Otherwise, I think forward depth is strong, maybe not the high end that other teams have. And if Markstrom is the caliber that we saw from him to start and end last year for the better part of a full year, then I think goaltending can be a strength as well. Josh asks, are the Flames still in on Eichel? I believe that they are, as much as you can be in on Jack Eichel at this point. I don't think that is something that is coming to a resolution anytime soon. But yes, when Jack Eichel does get traded, I think the Flames, even if he doesn't come here to Calgary, I think the Flames will have been one of the teams that were in on him right to the very end. And we're not at the end yet. I believe the Flames are still in on Jack Eichel, and I believe that I don't see that changing until a decision is made by Buffalo, until that ends up coming to a resolution. JF says it was the same with Gaudreau, if I remember, when talking about his contract. Gaudreau didn't miss regular season time. He missed the entire preseason, but didn't miss regular season time. And finally, Dylan, Flames will miss the playoffs. Very well could happen. I don't think they're a shoe-in bona fide playoff team, But I also don't think that it's crazy to think they would make it, knowing the division that they are playing in this year. We'll do another Flames Nation Live brought to you by DoorDash coming up on Friday. Pike and I right before the start of the regular season. So join us Friday for our next edition of Flames Nation Live. I will tell you as we wrap things up that FN Live is always brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. Check them out with that promo code FNLiveDD. If you use that promo code, you're getting a percentage off your first order and free delivery. Once again, that promo code is FNLiveDD. Good stuff as always. Thank you for stopping by with us. We will talk to you. I don't know why we blacked out there. Hi, there, I'm back. We will talk to you again on Friday with our next edition of Flames Nation Live. In the meantime, check us out on social media, Twitter, Instagram, all of it. And be kind, stay safe, enjoy the hockey. The NHL season is officially underway. Just a few more days until the Flames get going. Have yourself a great rest of your Tuesday night. This has been another edition of Flames Nation Live, brought to you by our friends at DoorDash.